So the two worst teams in football played each other this week, and the results will not shock you. Someone choked. Someone looked pathetic. Someone embarrassed their franchise. Well, really many people embarrassed their franchise, but the biggest embarrassment was the Chicago Bears. Now, people are going to blame the coaching staff, blame the defense, blame the skill players, as they should, although Cole Kmet was kind of cooking there a little bit. But let's be real with ourselves here. To say, oh, they shouldn't have taken the ball off Justin Fields' hand, he had such a good first half, feels like a deliberate bit of wishful thinking, deliberate bit of misinformation. Fields played a good 2.5 quarters, then turned the ball over, then had a bad intentional grounding call, and then had a game-losing interception. If you need to play the Broncos defense, a defense which just gave up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins to look like a halfway decent quarterback, I don't know what to tell you. There is no salvation, there's no saving grace here. The entire Bears organization needs to be dismantled board by board, and that starts with Justin Fields. Well, it probably starts with the head coach this next week, but it starts with Justin Fields in the offseason.
You know, I am proud of you. I thought you were going to come out a lot more violent and hateful when it comes to your Justin Fields rhetoric.
He's 75% of a good quarterback, but 75% of a good quarterback doesn't get done in the NFL.
Now, I fully expected Isaiah to come out with a lot more aggression when it comes to Justin Fields and his hate for Ohio quarterbacks. And I think this game comes down to two things, or a few different small things. I think for the people out there that hate Justin Fields, they think he's not a good quarterback, like Isaiah, they're celebrating. I think that's a little delusional. I mean, you look at this game, he was a very good quarterback through 3 quarters. I think 23 of 25, 4 touchdowns, threw for over 300 yards, looked like he's capable of being an NFL passer. That is true, and if you take that away from him, I don't really know what to tell you. Now, if you want to point to the late game turnovers, your blitzer comes free off the edge, doesn't see it, hits him at the last second. Nobody was even trying to block him, strips the ball out, and it gets returned for a touchdown.
No. That's Field Society. Okay, I'm going to try and force this throw while it's happening. A good quarterback eats the ball there and just takes the sack. Let's not pretend it's blocking error. Probably was a blocking error, but that's on Fields. There's no two ways about it.
Well, it's on a blocking error, and then you could say because there was a blocking error, he then did not handle it perfectly, but to chalk the whole game's performance up to that one play, I think is not the kindest way to view the game for Justin Fields. Now, when it comes to Justin Fields being a good quarterback in the rest of his career, that has zero effect for me. I'm not seeing this game saying, oh, this proves he can be the franchise quarterback for the Bears. I think if you do think that, if you're a Bears fan, that's also a delusional take. The Broncos are on pace to have the worst defense of all time. Most plays given up per play, most yards per play given up in a season, most yards per game ever given up in a season. Not a good defense they're rolling out there.
I take Georgia over them right now.
Well, you know, Georgia's had their own struggles compared to their national championship seasons.
Still number 1.
Who have they played?
Auburn. Beat Auburn.
Yeah, but Auburn's Auburn. SEC, not that good this year.
Lost 1 game in 3 years. Stop hating, Rico.
Anyway, it doesn't change anything for me there. And I will say the coaching staff is horrible. In a game, you have Justin Fields, one of the best running quarterbacks we've seen in NFL history at running the football, and he's 4 attempts for 25 yards. The fact, he had a great game passing the ball, but the fact he has that element in his arsenal of being able to threaten the defense in that way, and he's 4 carries for 25 yards, Lamar Jackson didn't win the MVP because he had 36 touchdown passes and threatened teams through the air. It's because he ran for over 1,200 yards and also ran for 7 touchdowns. So the fact the coaching staff seems to refuse to want to use Justin Fields' legs is also a problem. But there's a lot wrong with the Bears. So
shout out to the Broncos, though, no longer completely defeated. Big comeback from Russ. He's cooking. Has 9 passing touchdowns on the year, 12 bathrooms in his house, if you're aware of that little inside joke. So he's probably going to break that threshold.
Well, congratulations. He lit up the Bears defense.
You know, who's worse? The Bears, it's not really a question. The Broncos defense is worse, but Bears defense also terrible.
It is, but it's also not a feather in, if we're going to say it's not a feather in Justin Fields' cap, it's certainly not a feather in Sean McVay and Russell Wilson's cap. To struggle
Sean McVay is the Rams coach, by the way. You're talking about Sean Payton.
Sean Payton, same difference.
Very disrespectful to Sean McVay. Anyway, do you know why I'm so hard on Justin Fields? Particularly this season, I've kind of gone after him a bunch.
Because I liked him so much.
Oh, I hated him long before that, son. Don't delude yourself. You're not that important. But there were some expectations on him. You can't lie. Bears fans were talking crazy. You will not dispute that with me. MVP season, 9 to 12 wins. playoff team. All that was being said this offseason. Even the most conservative Bears fans are saying 7 wins, offense is going to break out. He has failed to live up to expectations. And Zach Wilson surprised everybody last evening. No expectations whatsoever. Playing a good defense in Kansas City. Aaron Rodgers goes down 4 plays into his Jets career. That's a lost season. Zach Wilson went out and impressed me. He's not supposed to be this good. His numbers, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Pretty solid. Could have been much better if his receivers and tight ends were not dropping touchdowns, dropping wide open passes. Could have had 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Could have beaten the Chiefs pretty easily. I think Saleh had a big win today and sticking by Zach Wilson because he is clearly capable of playing in the moment. It could be just because Taylor Swift is in attendance. Some people perform better under pressure. Some people like T Swift. Maybe it's that, but Zach Wilson looked like a real NFL quarterback today. If that Zach Wilson keeps showing up, Jets are going to be a playoff team.
Well, he looked like a real NFL quarterback, and he played quarterback like a second overall pick should. He looked like he played better than any of the other quarterbacks. He played as good or better than any of the other quarterbacks drafted in that draft class.
Played better than Mahomes last night.
Not named Trevor Lawrence. He played amazing. I mean, if he continues that, it's the AFC, so I think the playoffs would still be a stretch, especially with how the Bills are playing and with the Dolphins are playing in their own division. But same with Justin Fields. We've seen so much bad from Zach Wilson. It's going to take more than one game to convince me all of a sudden you're a good quarterback. You, of all people, should know. I mean, you're a fan of the Vikings, Case Keenum, the Minnesota Miracle. Kirk Cousins has his good game where he throws for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, and then he looks completely atrocious. You, of all people, should know this is not something we should come to expect for the rest of the season.
I kind of disagree with you on that because the entire offense built around Aaron Rodgers. You watch those plays, not really a Zach Wilson-esque offense. Granted, I don't know what a Zach Wilson-esque offense would be, but clearly not dialed up. But more play action, more short routes. Everything seemed to be clicking for Zach Wilson. It looked different for the Jets offensively. And that's not just, oh, Wilson played better. The play calling was different. So if the Jets move forward with that mindset, I don't know. Again, I'm more hopeful for Zach Wilson than I am for most people. He got a rather bad shake going into a terrible New York organization with a really bad offensive line, bad coaching staff his first few years. Some would say still bad offensive coaching staff now. And coming from BYU of all places, he was set up for failure. I'm glad he had a good game, and I think it's possible the good games continue. Aaron Rodgers being there and being a coach for him helps if he's actually at the facility sometimes. Of course, we saw more shots of T Swift in the crowd than we saw of Rodgers, but I am a big T Swift fan. I'm not going to go on that rant again. You heard it last week, but I'm optimistic about Zach Wilson. I like that performance. No expectations, played very well. Almost beat the Chiefs. You could say, oh, they got saved by penalties. I'm not I am one of those people who hates the refs, but
You're one of those people. You are the person that wears a tinfoil hat.
Pretty much. I'll wear one next week, but officiating did play a factor. I'm starting to feel bad for Jawan Taylor. He's become the most over-penalized player in football after the Week 1 fiasco. The referees got upset. He made them look like idiots on national television on Thursday Night Football. The season opener decided we are going to get this guy. He should not have 9 penalties. That face mask should not have resulted in a safety. It's just all a bunch of stuff in that end. But we probably could talk about the Chiefs a little bit.
The Chiefs' offense has been wildly disappointing this season. I mean, it seems like none of their receivers are really taking a role as the lead number 1 guy on that side of things. Travis Kelce has looked mortal this year. He has not looked like his elite self that we saw last season. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the knee hyperextension, but he has not looked all that great. Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Valdez Scantling, Rashee Rice, Justin Ross, who's their 7th round pick, who had a lot of promise. They've gotten nothing together. The only thing that's been good about their offense is Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Isaiah
Pacheco's
Pacheco.
been pretty good, yeah.
I was just about to say it. I just said that.
I said the only thing that you said one person, you said more than one person.
I meant to say only, whatever. I meant to say only things, Pacheco, Mahomes, and Reid. Other than that, it's been a mess.
I tend to agree. Of course, it's September, or October now, and it's the Chiefs. You think they'll get right, but not a good start. Playing the Jets defense doesn't help. Playing the Lions defense, sneaky good defense, does not help.